Today's sales leader faces increasing pressure and seemingly impossible quotas. And most are told the answer is more calls, more pipeline, more grind. With over 20 years in the trenches of sales leadership, I know there's a better way. Welcome to the Authentic Sales Manager podcast, brought to you by From the Heart Business Network. I'm your host, Harry Spaight. I believe in celebrating wins, visualizing success, and making sales and sales leadership honorable. Let's go. What is the good word? We've got a great show in store today. Ed Draper is joining us from the great state of Michigan. Beautiful weather I hear up there, Ed. So what is the good word, sir?
Well, that good weather, it's rare, right? So we're enjoying it for the few months that we get it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have good weather. Puts us in a good frame of mind sometimes. I know I'm a person that loves warmth and daylight, so that's perfect for me. So, Ed, I know that I use this expression a lot about this is going to be kind of a humorous thing, is that in the sales I've been in over the years, I have said over and over again, we are not saving lives. The stuff that you sell, I think, does save lives. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, what does an authentic sales manager mean to you, Ed?
Oh man, that's good. I'd say that authentic sales manager leadership it's not just about being yourself and who you are, but really ensuring that self is someone that's reliable in something that others can depend on when they need you most.
Yeah, wow. That's really interesting. So I like the answer. Someone that depends on you when they need you most. Man, that sounds very similar
Yeah.
to an EMT showing up at a crash scene. So is that kind of where you got that from, or talk to me about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I spent, around 20 years or 25 years in pre-hospital medicine and firefighting. And yeah, that's where a lot of it happened, right? We respond to calls and deal with people in their worst opportunity or scenario and try to make it a little better every day. So it's the same thing we do in sales, right?
No, absolutely. I was just speaking to a person who is a sales leader, and we're actually just chatting online, and the person said that they were going through trying to keep morale up,
Yeah.
stabilize, and develop culture.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on. It's like, as a sales leader, you think your number one thing to do is I've got to go help the team hit the number. But there is so much more going on in the role with culture, stabilizing, being there for people, as you said, in difficult times. So talk to me about what's on your mind with that.
Man, I think that's huge, right? I think culture is the foundation for everything. And we build that through a number of things. And I would suggest that I got to say, I'm blessed, right? I'm blessed with having a great team, great leadership that I work for and support and resources, that all the things that you need that's there in a foundation. But, it really does come down to culture. And I've got a person I call a friend, a mentor, an accountability coach, and it happens to be my boss now. His name's Don. And he's been that for us and for me all along. And when you foundationally focus on culture first, it allows everything else to fall in place, and it allows you to serve the customer the best way you can. Right? It's huge. So I'd agree with you, Harry.
Yeah, it's, when you think of culture, I've got things that come to my mind. I'm curious as to what's top of mind for you when we hear the word culture in sales organizations. Are we thinking Wolf of Wall Street, Glengarry, Glen Ross, always be closing? I've got steak knives and BMWs, or you're fired.
Yeah.
Talk to me. What's culture in your mind?
Oof, man, I tell you, that's funny. I could make a joke out of it and say it's Tommy Boy, but it's really not, right? It's honestly, even though it's not sales, I think it lends more to be more like Ted Lasso, right? And it's just having that love first mindset. And and coding that or supporting that with a never finished, always learning, no excuses type environment where you're building this foundation where people feel safe to challenge the norm. And in fact, with our team, I make that an expectation, right? And they know that coming in. And when they know that that's the place they can be in, it allows them to be themselves and really be authentic in their own world too.
Yeah. So Ted Lasso. All right. There may be two people in the audience that don't know who Ted Lasso is. So
Sure.
can you share what your take is on Ted Lasso, the European soccer coach who used to be an American football coach, if I have that straight?
You do. It's funny. It's a funny scenario where he takes these simplistic, just caring mindset actions and he deploys them into a high-end, high level sports environment, and it seems to work, right? And people care about him. And at first, they didn't, as you know, like they thought that was soft at first, and they realized very shortly thereafter that it was impactful for the people, and it made an environment that people like to be in.
Yeah, I mean that is such an inspirational show for me. I get chills just thinking about it. It's interesting. I hear the carrot and stick analogy, the idiom, so often in sales. I mean, it drives me bonkers. Who would ever use a stick on anything? I mean, we don't even use it on animals anymore. I mean, maybe in horse racing, but I mean, there's very few exceptions. But to me, that's just, I shouldn't give my opinion, but I think it's appalling that people think of a stick, that this is how they have to treat their salespeople. And then when you watch Ted Lasso, who's coaching professional athletes, and this is a big, I mean, there's such a great comparison with sports and sports leadership and sales leadership, because you're dealing with personalities, some people who are amazing at their craft, typically are free spirits, and the sales leader needs to corral those people and help them to prosper, right? To grow and be wonderful at what they do. And then here's this someone else that comes in and says, we're not using the stick enough. I'm just absolutely curious. Since you brought up Ted Lasso, tell me about what your thoughts are on the carrot and the stick.
Well, listen, I've always said if you have to use the stick, if you have to pull out the I'm the boss card, then you failed, right? And you failed many steps before that, because it's our responsibility to take what needs to be done and package it in a way that shows the account manager, the salesperson, whatever, that what they're doing is impactful, not only for them, their family, those around them, but also the customer they serve, right? And if we're not doing that multiple steps ahead of time, we're not leading, right? We're responding. And I think that's where that failure comes in. You've got to focus on the carrot, and then you should honestly be looking at the stick as a failure on your part, right? As a leader.
Yeah, I love it. 100%. It's like, if you've gotten to that point, you've missed a few hundred steps along the way. I'm just thinking is like, why wouldn't we have conversations? I mean, I did this post on LinkedIn today, is about having conversations and find out what drives people, what they need, what they want, what their goals are, and helping them achieve that. I don't see a stick in that anywhere, is what salespeople are looking for today. So anyway, I appreciate you tackling that one with me and sharing your insight.
It's fun.
Your role, I mean, looking back at your history, you've done a lot of different things. And just, I want to touch on, when you got into sales leadership, did you come from sales in the same company and just, you were selling a lot, and all of a sudden someone saw eyes and said, man, we want more of you, Ed. We're going to make you the team leader. So is that kind of how it went? Or can you explain what that was like?
Sort of. Yeah. So, you talked earlier about being a paramedic and a chief of an EMS department prior to walking into the sales world. That's where it started. I was obviously a leader in that world. And then when I was plucked out of that industry into the selling into public safety world, I was blessed to be successful there. Right. And you're right. I know I've heard you talk about it with other people before, where sometimes organizations just promote up a person that was good at sales and expecting to lead when realistically it's a different skill set. And so fortunately, the person who hired me out of the EMS world happened to be my boss here, and then was promoted. And when his position became available, I was able to earn that position underneath him as well. So he saw me at two different stages before this, where I had shown leadership ability, and then was able to with his mentorship, learn how to sell, right? And
wow,
that as well.
Yeah, outstanding. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll get right back into this as far as leadership and selling and accountability is concerned.
If you were buying a company, you wouldn't just glance at the website and say, looks good, let's buy it. You'd do your due diligence. You'd review the books, check the leadership, dig into performance history.
Exactly. You never spend millions on a company without knowing what you're getting. Yet, most CEOs hire salespeople with nothing more than a resume and a gut feeling.
That's why we recommend Sales Index Unlimited Candidate Assessments. It's like due diligence for your sales hires. Each sales candidate is evaluated across 21 core sales competencies, because a crucial role like sales requires more than a personality profile. Sales Index compares candidates against a database of 2.5 million salespeople. You'll know exactly who has the drive, the grit, and the skills to perform before you bring them on board.
Because in sales, a bad hire doesn't just cost salary. It costs momentum, margin, and morale.
For just $299 a month, you can protect your growth engine and make every sales hire a smart investment.
Do your due diligence before your next hire.
Go to unlimited.salesindex.ai. That's unlimited.salesindex.ai and hire with confidence.
All right, we're back with, who are we back with? Ed Draper, for goodness sakes. We're back with, his name is right in front of me. All right, so Ed Draper, welcome back. We are talking a little bit about accountability and empathy.
Yeah.
This is one of those things we were just talking earlier about the carrot and the stick. So let's talk a little bit about how empathy ties in with accountability and great leadership. What are your thoughts there?
Man, that's good. So I think that, or I'd say that it first starts with clarity, right? That we have to first show that we have given the information in a manner that the team can understand it, and then that they not just understand it, but can operationalize it and have all the tools necessary to be successful. After that, then it's all about us holding accountability. That stick thing you talked about earlier, I think that, like we said earlier, it has to be multiple steps before, where we've helped them understand the why behind what they need to do and who it's helping and the pathway to get there. But I think you have to have accountability with empathy, right? You need to first make sure that the team feels like they've been heard. And in fact, they have been heard, because sometimes we're wrong as the leader. We have to also consider, the real life stressors, real world stressors that they have outside of this. They're not just salespeople. They have families and lives that we have to consider as well. And, also checking for understanding to make sure that they fully grasp what was there. You've given them everything they need to get there, and that you've offered clear direction and waypoints to get to the successful place, right? So you can't just say you missed it because of this. You have to say, did I do all of these things first? And am I coming from a place of actually caring and understanding what they have and what they have been going through before, the scenario is over? So I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. If you're, when you think about clarity, I know we're going to chat a little bit about this, but if people are not clear with what the mission is, in one of our shows, Daryl Amy talked about being Stretch Armstrong.
Yes.
So I love the analogy, but if the founder is saying to you, the sales leader, this is what I want. These are the objectives. These are the goals of the company.
Yes.
If that's not passed on clearly where people understand that, and then the founder says, well, what's going on? why are we not doing this? Or
Yes.
I thought we were all on the same page here. I've heard some sales leaders blame the team,
Sure.
right? It's like, oh no, it's not me. I'm just so I told them what to do.
Yeah.
So how, and maybe they did, but it just wasn't picked up. So how can we make sure that they really pick up what the mission is? Like if it's going out and finding net new business, or if it's cross-selling, or if it's really taking care of our clients with a great customer experience, whatever that is, how can we make sure our team really gets it?
Man, there's a few things to unpack there, right? So the first thing,
sorry about that.
no, you're good. When the first thing you said was that there's the stretch Armstrong mindset that Daryl was talking about. Well, that's, if everything's important, nothing's important, right? So it's really triaging and being able to triage. And there's the EMS world, fire world in the background for me too, that you have to take care of the most important things that are going to make the biggest impact for both the customer and the business, right? And so that's the first thing. We need to figure out what those most important things are and use whatever theory you guys use. I lean on the Eisenhower theory, where it's what's most important and urgent needs to be handled first. And, the things that are important but not urgent need to be planned at some point in time. You schedule those things out. But ultimately, you've got to take the most important things. And then, like I said earlier, you have to make it so that the information is packaged in such a way that without diluting the message, the salesperson can fully understand what needs to be done and why. So then they can learn from that first level of understanding of knowledge and comprehension to getting to the point of, applying it or operationalizing it, making it a routine every day, and being able to execute. And I think that's where one of the biggest failure points really occurs, when they may have understood what needed to be done, but they didn't have the tools or the process or something in place, or a strategy or routine in place that allowed them to execute and actually put that into practice every day.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about this as a sales leader and you just listen to Ed say this, and we might think that we have said something to the sales team once, maybe twice, and we don't want to sound like a broken record. So we let it go. And we said, well, we told them, they understand. I understood. So they must understand. And in the meantime, while they're listening to you, they're thinking about what deals they need to close. Maybe the argument they had with their teenager on the way into work.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many different things that are going
Absolutely.
on. And so we're making noise as sales leaders talking to the team. Should we be doing this one-on-one with them so that there's definite clarity there? Or is it just safe to say that we can always just talk to the team and assume that everyone gets it? What's your thought there?
And that's so good. I think the most important meeting a sales leader can have is the one-to-one meeting. I don't think that it means you shouldn't do the full team meeting. In fact, I subscribe to we have to have a Monday morning meeting so that everybody can align and get a break from the weekend and jump into the idea of taking care of our customer base. But the one-to-one meeting gives we do them every 2 weeks, so you have 26 opportunities to course correct and make coaching plans and help people understand where they need to go and find where those gaps in understanding or ability to execute really occur, right? People have an ego, right? We all do. And they're more apt to be open and honest and willing to express their weaknesses just one-on-one versus in a group setting, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people typically don't like to be exposed. So yeah, we put something out there in front of the team. It doesn't typically go over well for the person sitting there saying, is he talking about me? Well, why is he doing that? So yeah,
Harry, that's one thing I've always noticed. If you throw out a message for course correction in front of an entire group, it's funny. Everyone always thinks it's not them. Right. And so, oh yeah, if you didn't point me out, so it must not be me. Right.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
One-on-one. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so guilty of that. And it's the wrong person. Clearly the wrong person says, were you talking about me? And it's like, no, of course not. You're like the top performer. Right. And so you have the top performer, the rest of the meeting, they've got head trash because they think you singled them out. And really, it's the furthest thing from the truth. So it's way better over years of learning and making mistakes is to have those conversations with individuals, and it's so much more clear for the person. So what are, based on what we've talked about, what are some steps that we can take? Now, if they have no steps to take, well, you know that the message isn't clear.
Amen.
So I have no idea. Then we
Yeah.
still have work to do.
It's funny.
Yeah. Talk to me.
Harry, I spent about, I don't know, roughly 20 years of my prior life in that business teaching adults in the pre-hospital setting or pre-hospital medicine setting. And one of the things that we talk about often is this theory of Bloom's taxonomy. And the idea behind that is it's really 6 different levels of understanding how well anyone can understand anything. And it has nothing to do with, or not, I guess not solely to do with medicine. It can be anywhere, right? It's having a scientist mindset. Funny enough, Larry and Daryl and one of his guests just talked about a scientist mindset the other day on their podcast. And it's understanding first, right? The first couple levels of that knowledge or of that Bloom's taxonomy pyramid are knowledge and comprehension. And it's really, can they repeat the information you gave to them? And that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? They hear from you, they know the message, they can repeat the message. And that's beautiful, right? That's that first level. And that's our first responsibility as a sales leader, is to make sure, can they just repeat it? Can they simply say, yes, I understand by this? But that where the gap usually happens with honestly any understanding is getting to that next step, the application. How do I take that information and how do I actually operationalize it, the application level? How do I then make that routine?
This is really good. So we're going to take a break and hear a word from our sponsor. But when we get back, we're going to dive a little deeper into this Bloom's taxonomy. So stay tuned.
If you were buying a company, you wouldn't just glance at the website and say, looks good, let's buy it. You'd do your due diligence. You'd review the books, check the leadership, dig into performance history.
Exactly. You never spend millions on a company without knowing what you're getting. Yet, most CEOs hire salespeople with nothing more than a resume and a gut feeling.
That's why we recommend Sales Index Unlimited Candidate Assessments. It's like due diligence for your sales hires. Each sales candidate is evaluated across 21 core sales competencies, because a crucial role like sales requires more than a personality profile. Sales Index compares candidates against a database of 2.5 million salespeople. You'll know exactly who has the drive, the grit, and the skills to perform before you bring them on board.
Because in sales, a bad hire doesn't just cost salary. It costs momentum, margin, and morale.
For just $299 a month, you can protect your growth engine and make every sales hire a smart investment.
Do your due diligence before your next hire.
Go to unlimited.salesindex.ai. That's unlimited.salesindex.ai and hire with confidence.
And we're back. Ed Draper is telling us all about the Bloom's taxonomy methodology of helping people to understand and put into operation what we're trying to teach as sales leaders. So first step was helping them to understand, right? By teaching. Is that it, Ed?
Yeah, just to understand it, to be able to just simply, rote memorize it and spit out the information. Can they recall it, right? That's that first level. The second level is understanding it well enough that they can actually apply it in their daily routine. How do I do this task while I'm, out seeing customers every day in our world, right? Mm-hmm. And then once they can operationalize it and do it for multiple days, the 21 days or whatever it requires to make a habit, once they get to that point and they habitualize it, then at that point, really, you have to work your way to the next level where you can start to mentor other people by first being able to evaluate those steps. Let me look at somebody else doing that same work, whatever it happens to be, and sort of poke holes in it, right? And find where they could course correct and make some adjustments and challenge the norm, right? I think that's that scientist mindset. You have a hypothesis, you work through things, and eventually you find out what the real answer is, the right way to do things. Maybe that's how you make a process better, right?
Yeah, it's like, so as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking Okay, so we have this, we want to have better business conversations frequently coming up
Yes.
because so many salespeople are product led.
Yes.
Let's use that. Let's just take, we want to have better business conversations. So going through that process, what's the first thing that you would say to a sales team that we want to have better business conversations? Where do we go from here?
Harry, that's a great example, right? So if you think of this, it's a great example because we're all told, don't pitch. Don't just run in and tell features and benefits and hope that that's going to work, right? And what's the first thing salespeople do when you're riding around with them, right? They say, let me tell you about this product, right? And they want a feature dump on people. And that's the gap between knowing that they shouldn't and then not being able to get to the point where they do, right? So when I'm out with my sales team and we're working on that step, I usually will go through, let them, sort of fail in front of the customer there. And I think that you learn best from those weakness spots or failure points. And we get back out to the car and you say, all right, what did you do well? And how could you have done things a little bit different? And then say, from here, did you feel yourself pitching? Yeah, I did. And how do we fix that next time? Right. And so you then give them the tools to try on the next call, right? They go into the next place and they say, okay, let's talk more about understanding the customer, their needs, what their requests are, what their requirements for success are. And then you can start asking the right business questions to get to the solution you want to provide for that customer, hard qualify, disqualify up front to see if they're even the right customer for you and work through that process. But that's the big thing, getting from that, we know we shouldn't feature dump, getting to the point where you realize that you are getting through the turn of understanding there to the point where you can make a course correction where you don't in the future.
Love it.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of people's sales reps often take pride in this. And sometimes I get it. It's like you want to be known as the guy or the gal for your particular product or service. So everyone knows you in town and say, Ed Draper, he's my guy.
Yeah.
But if the client views you only as the product guy and not as the business guy, there
Yes.
is a big miss there. So I see you smiling. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's funny, being a paramedic and selling paramedic stuff and, walking into agencies that buy that stuff. And I always thought I knew a lot. Right. And it was very funny to realize that my opinions don't matter. And,
Really?
oh yeah, what I like to use as a product or what I thought was the right procedure to use in a certain scenario didn't really matter because what I did in Northern Michigan could be completely different than what happens in Tennessee or Florida where you're at. And so you find out that not everything's done the same way. And it creates a place of humility where, we don't know everything. And there's a lot of things that are done differently. And even though you have a background in something, it doesn't necessarily mean or translate to success somewhere else too, right? So you're right. You have to come in with question asking. The benefit I have in that world is that, and a lot of my team has, they're able to go in and understand what probably is true and lead some questions in the right direction. But the strongest people are the ones that don't offer their opinion until after they've heard, what the needs are of somebody else.
Yeah, it requires a little bit of patience and self-awareness, just breathing, being a good listener. I mean, podcasting has helped me tremendously of just sitting and letting people finish because in sales, it's like, oh, I know what you want. I'm here for you. I got the answer.
Yes.
And then we're off to the races trying to sell and talk over the customer. And then we're pigeonholed is to be the product rep and not the business consultant. And we wonder, why can't we get back in and talk to them and find out what's going on? Because they're not in the market for any.
Especially for people like us that were telling them what they needed and when we just weren't listening, right? So I agree with you, Harry. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. So did we cover the Bloom's taxonomy where we've got, so taking the knowledge, operationalizing it, and then being aware as to how to use it in the future? Is that, what's the
and then I would say that third step is evaluating it, being able to sit back and mentor those around you and help the next person, better understand their way of applying the situation and adjusting and help building the new plan, right? So I think one of the things I like to tell, or I like to show pride in with our team, is that we like to say we like to write the book. We don't just read it. And I think that's important, right? You need to be able to evaluate process, challenge the process, and help build a new system that allows you to fail to success, right? So that if you do, that came from the pre-hospital world too, in the EMS, where you want to make sure that what you do, even if you fail, is still successful, right? Yeah. And so they want to rebuild that process to get to that point, and also do so while reducing the cognitive load that the salesperson goes through every single day, right?
Oh my goodness. It's so true. You've got to just touch on this fail to success. Failing is succeeding in this, because so many salespeople don't want to fail.
Yes.
So they hold back from growing by failing to fail, if that's a way to say that. So can you just touch on that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, that's part of that culture you have to build, right? You have to build the culture where it's okay to fail, so that they'll fail. They'll realize that a system or a process doesn't work, and then they'll be able to adjust. And, we talked earlier about the translating some of the things that I did in the pre-hospital world to sales. Really, medicine in general does a really good job of creating algorithms or other processes. We use mnemonics and things to help keep people on track in high stress environments. And that same thing can pull through into the sales world, where if you build a process, you can't build a process to just get to 100% or just get to success, because if you miss, which we do very, very often, right? If we build that culture where failure is okay, we're going to miss. So you have to adjust your plan so that you fail. When you fail to success, right? You fail higher than what the minimum standard would be. And I think that, that translates from, the medicine world, right? Where an example that they have in that world is clear communication, right? And closed loop communication. And you'll often hear, nurses or docs or paramedics talk about medication orders, and how they don't just say, hey, give a milligram of epinephrine, and they say, okay, right? They say, okay, so you're asking me to give 1 milligram of epinephrine IV in the next 2 minutes, right? Like that closed loop communication allows that person, if they were to fail and say the wrong dose or the wrong location or the wrong time frame, that the person has the time to correct it and make it right, so they fail to success.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Great stuff. Ed, this has been remarkable. I really appreciate you sharing so much insight here. What's your final thought for other sales leaders out there that may be going through some challenging times? What word of encouragement or thoughts come to mind for you?
Mamba mindset, right? It's the growth, the always grinding into it, and knowing that when you outwork it, you'll probably succeed. So every one of us goes through a rough time, and I think the most important thing is to endure it, right? The buffalo mindset, that you're going into the storm, versus the cow mindset where you're running away from it, right? When you hit things head on, you'll get through it faster and much more smoothly. So, Harry, I appreciate you having me.
Oh, it's so good. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ed Draper. We will end this show right here, but if you're listening and you know other sales leaders that could benefit from hearing this conversation, please feel free to share this episode. Ed Draper, it's been a real blast.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us on the Authentic Sales Manager podcast, brought to you by From the Heart Business Network. If today's conversation resonated, rate, review, and share it with a sales leader who needs to hear this. Keep celebrating wins and making sales leadership honorable. See you next time.